When political commentators step into the true crime space or try to play investigator on live television, credibility comes down to one simple thing: receipts. You either have verifiable facts or you're just peddling vibes and unbacked talking points. Case in point. Former police officer and prominent commentator Brandon Tatum recently appeared on Nancy Grace to discuss the mysterious death of college football player Nolan Wells. But what was supposed to be a masterclass in investigative authority quickly devolved into a lesson on why cross-examination matters. Over the course of a single interview, Tatum makes sweeping factual claims about lie detector tests and victim testimony, only to have those claims unravel the second actual receipts and recorded evidence are introduced. If you value media accountability, facts over narrative, and genuine receipts, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm Neel. This is The Honest Perspective. Today, we're looking at what happens when commentary meets cold, hard evidence on live television. Let's get into it.
Have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed. And all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test.
Why do you say that's
test
from
but
what
one.
you understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying from my understanding. They told me that all the boys except one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lie detector test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me, they all took a lie detector test and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's not a traditional lie detector test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if the people were telling the truth or not.
Did they take a polygraph would be no.
Well, yeah, I think it could be semantics because they took a test to analyze whether or not they were being truthful in their statements, and that certified test, they passed it. It just wasn't considered a traditional polygraph. I think it's a more advanced way of doing it.
Brandon Tatum.
Notice how fast that pivot happened. He starts with a definitive assertion. All but I believe one took a polygraph, and they all passed. That sounds authoritative, right? But watch what happens when Grace asks a basic follow-up. Did they tell you they took a poly and pass? Immediately, the narrative shifts. Suddenly, it wasn't a traditional polygraph at all. It was a voice stress analysis test, framed away as mere semantics. In a court of law or a serious forensic investigation, conflating a polygraph with voice stress analysis isn't semantics. It's using junk science phrasing to elevate unverified hearsay into definitive proof. Let's look at how Nancy Grace pushes back on that exact distinction.
Hold on. In a nutshell, Joe Scott, there is a difference between a polygraph, which measures all sorts of body signals, your sweat, your breathing, your heart, your blood pressure, all sorts of things, and an audio verification test. Big difference.
Yeah. So the audio is, you're looking for stressors in the voice, and these people are highly trained that do this. And you know how the courts feel about these tests. Are they admissible or not? But I think that, going to Brandon's point, the fact that they have taken these, at least those named allegedly have taken these according to him, I think that that's significant. Now, whether or not that this is going to be usable, a usable investigative tool, is hard to measure.
I didn't ask you if it's going to be used in court. That's a whole nother animal. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Okay, there may never even be a court case. First, I got to find out what happened to Nolan. Okay, so let's not put the cart before the horse. You've got eye detections tests. I don't put any stock in that as to whether somebody's lying. You've got nonverbal communication experts claiming they can tell. You've got brainwave analysis. You've got all sorts of things. I want a poly. Right. I'm not saying they did anything or they didn't do anything. Go, strap up, take me a poly. Officer Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube. I've been told, but I can't verify, that the boat in question has been searched by scent dogs and cadaver dogs. Is that true?
I'm not familiar if that's true. Let me just clarify. The test that they took was a voice stress analysis test instead of what we call a traditional polygraph test. But I'm not familiar with the cadaver dog searching the boat. I wasn't informed that that was the case. But I was told by the boys that they did not wash the boat off or do any of those things that they were accused of doing, after this incident.
Right.
Grace rightly draws the line between actual physiological monitoring and audio stress analysis. But the issue here goes deeper than just mislabeling a test. It's a pattern of presenting one-sided commentary as established fact. Watch this next moment, where Tatum moves from defending unverified lie detector claims to telling the audience what the victim's mother did and didn't say. Pay attention to how fast an argument crumbles when the actual audio tape is played back.
Well, Nancy, it's unclear exactly what the mother is articulating, because at one point she's concerned that there's not a lot of Snapchats or social media posting. She did not articulate, or the Benjamin Crump did not mention that there's nothing on his phone. So they're not saying that the phone was wiped and there's no images or anything. She was concerned about his social media frequency, which I believe after talking to the boys, it was consistent with what they said, and it was consistent with basic deductive reasoning that maybe he didn't post a lot on that day. So what remains a focus for me, and if I was investigating this
Not
case,
talking about
I
posting.
would want to know.
Not talking about whether he posted, officer.
No,
he didn't
what
even
I'm saying
take
is
anything.
that
there's no pictures. There's no anything.
That's what the mom is saying, but we haven't had an opportunity to either see or hear exactly what she's trying to articulate. Some of the things that she said in the media is that she's talking about posting. I don't believe she said that there was nothing at all on his phone, no pictures, no nothing. But I wasn't able to verify that. So if I was able to see Nolan's phone and the mother was able to show me exactly what she's articulating, I'll be able to have a better perspective in comparison to what Warren and the other boys were telling me. So at this point, I only have one side of it, and then I have a fractured perception from what the media or what the mother is saying in the media. So when the police officers look at his phone and they do a forensic extraction, if they're allowed to do that, they will see plainly if Nolan was on his phone, if he had taken pictures, and if they were deleted. Now, I'll implement this as we begin to try to guess and figure out what was happening on that day. It doesn't seem to be reasonable to suggest that the boys were in his phone deleting things. Now, after hanging out with the boys and getting to know them well, they're very intelligent young men, very savvy, and they were raised well. I would project, if I were to make an assumption, that if they were trying to cover up something that happened to Nolan, I would perceive that they would throw the phone in the water or something where it never would be recovered. Or if they had access to get into the phone, they wouldn't just delete, they would just completely rewrite the phone or, do a hard reset. Or they wouldn't give the phone back to mama or the family anyway. So with those factors put in place and what I've talked to them about, it seems as if their story seems consistent to me, that they did not get in the phone. They did not know his password. They had no reason to believe that there was a necessity to get in the phone.
Officer,
and they gave it over to the family.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I'm not taking anybody's word for anything until I investigate it and corroborate it. Again,
that's fair.
Maybe they're completely innocent. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Or maybe someone else had something to do with Nolan's death. I don't know, but I will find out. And you said, I don't know what she said exactly. Well, here is what Nolan's mother said.
When we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed, hey Ma, come on, take a picture of me. Like that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted, was because of the fact that there was nothing in either one of his accounts.
What we just witnessed across those three segments is a textbook demonstration of the difference between media commentary and actual investigative work. Look at what happened in that final clip. Brandon Tatum asserts on national broadcast that the mother, Christine Wells, was merely talking about social media posting frequency rather than empty accounts or deleted data. He builds an entire defense of his interview subjects around that framing. And how does Nancy Grace respond? She doesn't argue, debate, or exchange opinions. She simply rolls the tape. And on that tape, Christine Wells explicitly states, "When we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. That is what we call a receipt." In two separate instances during a single broadcast, we saw public commentary rely on assumptions rather than direct verification. First, presenting a voice stress test, a tool notoriously controversial and inadmissible in many evidentiary settings, as a past polygraph. Second, claiming a grieving mother never made specific statements about her son's phone, only to be directly contradicted by her recorded words seconds later. Independent commentary carries real weight, especially when creators leverage backgrounds in law enforcement or media to build trust with their audience. But with that, authority comes a responsibility to verify. When commentators skip basic fact-checking, whether it's failing to review direct victim statements or conflating distinct forensic tools, the public record gets muddy. In high-profile, sensitive investigations, narrative building should never take precedence over raw data, chain of custody, and verified court filings. The subpoenas filed by the Wells family for server-level data from platforms like Snapchat, Meta, and Life 360 represent the actual legal standard for uncovering the truth, not podcasts, vibes, or unverified claims. Our job as commentators isn't to take a side and defend it at all costs. Our job is to follow the facts wherever they lead, hold public figures accountable when they misstep, and prioritize verified evidence over talking points. If you believe in truth over access, people over profits, and commentary anchored strictly in real receipts, subscribe to The Honest Perspective. I'm Neel. Hold commentators accountable, double-check the receipts, and never accept narrative in place of proof. That's The Honest Perspective, and that's where I'll leave you.